Arlo and Frank. Grandpop, stuffed up Grandpop coming to you from the living room in Jack's Beach with some tea. I decided to record a bunch of these and I set a deadline of today. And of course my hay fever kicked in, but it is what it is, as they say. So today we're going to start a Gallery of Children by A. Milne. And as we get into this, we'll talk about the characters that are in this. Olive, your mom was very taken by these characters when she was a little girl. And I'm hoping that especially you'll be taken by them. Although you're 5 now, this might be a little too young for you, but we'll see. You might like it too. And hopefully, Frank, it'll just be interesting for you. So without further ado, okay, so how do we go to the next one? There we go. And the one that we're going to read today is The Princess and the Apple Tree. And it says, once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess who lived, who loved all lovely things, and most she loved the flowers and the blossoming trees in her father's garden. Now there was a humble man named Silvio, whose business it was to tend the flowers and the trees in the king's garden, and to him also they were a never-ending happiness because of their beauty. So it was that their love for lovely things drew them together, and Silvio loved the princess, and sometimes they walked hand in hand together. So it shows, well, this is just some kids being read to by somebody, so that's cool. So I'm just going to move myself over here. But the king was angry, for it was in his mind that the princess should marry a greater man than this. And he came upon Silvio in the garden and commanded him to leave that country and never to be found there again. Excuse me. Oh, this sucks. And Silvio said, "How can I leave the garden which I love?" Whereupon the king laughed and said, "Stay then," and touched him with the wand which he carried. And in a moment there was no Silvio there, but only another apple tree in the garden. For the king of that country was a great magician, and many were afraid of him. So he turned this Silvio guy into an apple tree. Princess is going to be really horrified that she now loves an apple tree. Hope she likes apples. The days went by, and still the princess sought Silvio in the garden, but he did not come. So she went to her father, the king, and asked of him. And the king laughed and said he was pruning an apple tree. I did not like the way he pruned it. He will never come back. Then the princess said, which was the tree he was pruning? And the king led her to the window and showed her the tree. And the princess was astonished, for she did not know that there had been an apple tree there. And when she was alone, she went to the apple tree, saying, "It is the last thing which he touched." So she touched it with her hand. And the apple tree trembled gently, and the blossom fell upon her head. So it was on the next day and the next. So she keeps coming out here. She has this strange attraction to this tree. And she also realizes that, well, that tree wasn't there yesterday. So I saw Silvio yesterday. Now he's not there, and there's a full-grown tree. And Arlo and Olive, your parents, my kids, are both into planting and growing trees and other plants. So you're familiar with the fact that you don't just plant a tree and the next day it's a full-grown tree. It takes a couple of years even to get big enough to start having apples produced on it. But she has some sort of a strange attraction to this tree. And summer came, but Silvio did not come. And autumn came, and still she thought of Silvio. One day, while she was beneath the apple tree, she cried out suddenly, "Oh, Silvio, let me not forget you." And the tree shook, and an apple fell into her lap. The princess took a little silver knife and peeled the apple so that the peel was unbroken, and she threw the peel over her shoulder, saying, "See whom I love." And she looked behind her. Now, this is something that grandmother and I were talking about. People, for good luck, throw salt over their shoulder when they're in their kitchen. I don't, and your grandmother would hit me with a broom or something if I tried doing that, because it makes a mess. You get salt all over the place. So she looked behind her. And let's move me again. And she looked behind her. So this is the same page. That's crazy. The left-hand page is the same page as before. And there was the letter S upon the ground. So she took the apple peel and she peeled it so it was one long strip. And then she threw it over her shoulder. And when she looked back, it was an S. I think I'm doing the S backwards because I'm doing it pointing at you. Okay. So it was upon the next day and the next, and upon the fourth day, she took an apple from another tree, and the peel broke beneath her knife. And she picked a second apple, and the peel fell in this shape or that, whereupon she went quickly back to her own tree. And always an apple fell into her lap, and always it told her that it was Silvio, whom she loved. So her dad wants her to get some big, powerful, rich guy, but she loves Silvio. And the reason is because they both love nature. They love the garden, they love trees and flowers and everything. Oh, I didn't see this coming. There came a day when there was only one apple upon the tree. So every day an apple falls off, but it takes them a while to grow. And they only grow once a year. So as you take them off, you're eventually not going to have any left. And this is getting ready to happen. There was one apple upon the tree, and then was she afraid, for she said, and this is strange, then was she afraid. It's not asking a question. This just was written a while back, so English was a little bit different. So it's saying, then was she afraid. It's not then, was she afraid? Was she afraid? For she said, how shall I know whom I love when the tree is empty? So she went near to it, very close. Then she felt to Silvio, and he to her. And suddenly she stretched out her arms and said, apple tree, you have seen whom it is that I love. Send him back to me. And she put her arms around the tree and clung to it, crying, comfort me. And it moved within her arms, whereupon she was frightened and drew her arms away, putting her hands before her eyes. And when she opened her eyes, there was Silvio waiting for her, a golden apple in his hand. But there was no apple tree. Then Silvio said to the princess, whom is it that you love? And she said, Silvio. So they kissed each other, and the king, seeing them from his window, said, "Let him marry her, for he is a greater man than I." So they were married and lived happily ever afterwards, walking in the garden together, hand in hand. This is the story which the eldest Vanderlecken girl read aloud underneath the umbrella tree, and they said, "Now read us another." But Diana, who had never had a story read to her before, said, "I'm glad they were together again." So let's see what we got here. We done? Yeah. Peace out. There they go. And heart. Heart. I suck at this. Okay. Bye.